Hey everybody, back online to post a video on YouTube. This one's going to be a bit longer and I'm not going to edit as much. I'm here to talk about healthcare in Canada. My experience alone should be alarming enough for you to paint a pretty good picture of the system here. It's a long-going problem that I've had my entire life. I'm still pretty sick, but feeling a lot better, thanks to treatment of antibiotics and steroids and anti-inflammatory for my sinusitis. So I just want to give an introduction before I post a video of something very traumatizing that happened to me at St. Joseph's Healthcare, the place that I was born. Just to give you a heads up, so I've had a lot of issues in my life getting a family doctor, mostly because of availability. The ones that do pop up are usually found through a centralized service where they're notified of availability, they contact you, and then you go in for an interview. And when I was in Ottawa finding a family doctor, I went into these interviews. So there were 3 or 4 of them. The 3 I believe in for sure that I went to all treated me very differently. They all told me they only had time for one told me they had time for short patients, and I had to basically just say, are you okay for a physical? Is that enough for you? Like, can you handle that? She booked it a month after even that interview. And then when I went for that physical, all she did was look in my ears, listen to my chest, and she said I was in good health. Meanwhile, I was expecting a bit more since it was like the first time I've had blood work in a while. And I did ask for more, and I refused to leave until I was properly seen, and she said that I would no longer be her patient. Another one said that he would like to see all of my records from all of my other doctors, which are all walk-ins, and then he felt uncomfortable taking me on. And another declined the interview when he found out I was autistic because he does not have training for people with autism, even though you don't really need training to deal with me. It was just like a full disclosure thing. So now I actually go into most doctor interviews withholding that information and acting as sane as possible so that they take me on. So having that difficulty finding a doctor, and I've moved around the provinces quite a bit, there's been a lot of issues with me getting a doctor. So I often, if I have an issue, I just go into a walk-in clinic or the non-life-threatening urgent care facility here at St. Joseph's, which is where my mother volunteers, and which is where everybody was recommending me to go. It's like a couple blocks away from my home. So I walked over, and I told them that I have been traveling and that I am suffering from a virus or bacteria that has not gone away. It's been going up and down. I've been feeling better, then it comes back very strong, indicating to me that it might be a bacterial infection in my head and my sinus. And my face was swelling up. Finally, the swelling has gone down thanks to these anti-inflammatories or steroids that they gave me. I still am clogged up quite a bit, but it's breaking up finally. So what happened to me is I went to St. Joseph's asking for treatment, and he looked in my ears and told me to go home, and I asked him to take a test or a sample, and he refused to do it. I asked for a second opinion, and he refused to do it. There were some challenging words beside each other. He was very offended that I was challenging him, and he took it personally, and he made some very rude comments to me, and at which point he left, and I went to the front desk to make a complaint. They were all ignoring me, and then I was greeted by security, and then this is where the video takes place. I then refused to leave. My phone died. After my phone died, I refused to leave. They called the police, and then they said, you better leave now or you might be arrested in the hospital. And so I left the premise, and while we were waiting for the police, they kept telling me to get off of the property or I will be arrested. And so I was just like, completely blown away. I waited for the police, and they asked them to stop me from recording, and the police said there's nothing that they can do about that because it's a public property. So there's that, and now I'm dealing with patient relations at St. Joseph's Hospital and contacting people to make sure this doesn't happen again, because it's not just in London, it's not just in Toronto, it's not just in Ottawa. I mean, this is a problem now for a lot of people. A lot of people have come to me since my video and have reached out to me saying that this happens to them too. So I'd like to put a stop to it and watch this very disturbing video. I'm very traumatized for it. I will not go back to St. Joseph's. Thank you. Leave because they won't give me my antibiotics.
Yeah, has the doctor said
I've asked for a second opinion, and they refuse to give me a second opinion. They refuse to get me a second doctor. And now they're telling me that I have to leave without medicine.
That's right.
Without a second
opinion.
opinion.
If you choose not to do so on your own, then we'll call the police to come and remove you.
Call the police,
okay?
But what have I done wrong?
You finished being seen.
No,
They
I
gave
haven't.
you your diagnosis.
No, I haven't.
The doctor told
They
you
didn't
to
take
go.
a culture sample.
The doctor told you
They
to
didn't
go.
take any samples.
The doctor told you to go.
They didn't do anything. They looked at me and
The
told me to
doctor-
leave.
That's right.
But I'm sick.
I don't think he would have just walked in and told you go home.
Yeah, he did. He didn't take any samples. He didn't take any tests. Didn't do anything. Looked at me and told me to go home. I'm very sick. I had a migraine. I've had sinusitis. My whole face is swollen up. I'm snotting like lime. If you were in my shoes, you'd be in the same boat.
I mean, if I was in your shoes, I'd probably take your friend home.
No, you wouldn't.
I'd go put somewhere warm. Maybe I could be somewhere else where.
Is that really worth my time? Is that
Probably,
really how
because then you
you
might-
Listen, if it wasn't worth your time, you wouldn't be arguing with us
Yeah.
right now and getting
No,
a
I'm
second
trying to
opinion.
make sure this doesn't happen to somebody else. I'm making a point of this. Make sure this doesn't happen to somebody else. Get that document normal. I'm going to be reporting that.
You can call that phone number.
Oh, I
and you can
will. I
do that.
have all of that.
Well, that's the way it's going
And
to
he
have to.
did not proceed properly.
If you'd like to call that phone number, that would be the way that's going to
You
happen.
actually came in at the time I was getting that card, and you kicked me out at the time I was being professional. I was being very professional. I was not supposed to be removed from this hospital. I did do nothing wrong for asking for a second opinion and to complain about
Even a first opinion, she should have swabbed. This is viral bacterial, so.
and ask for
No,
Where's
we
the
are.
police? Here they
They're
are.
on their way.
Fabulous.
I want to
Make
get
sure
off
you-
the property. We've already asked you to get off the property.
I'm a goddamn. Oh my god, I pay taxes. But you can't kick me off this
We
property.
absolutely
I'll
100% can kick you off the property.
This is a fucking hospital. A hospital. You guys are supposed to take care of people.
You can also delete that video.
Yeah, sure.